Peace, family, and welcome to another episode of Sins of the Father. I am your host, Ani I Am, and we welcome you back. Glad you could tap in. This show is about helping identify the effects of childhood trauma in our daily lives, how to combat it, how to heal from it, and how to change the narrative for the next generation so that they don't have to repeat the same cycle. So today, I wanted to just talk to the family about some of the reasons that I think, or some of the things that I'm seeing in regards to the younger generation, where we find disrespect and a lack of honor. When a close friend of mine and I were discussing it this week, and he and I are actually going to jump on a live together and kind of talk about this in depth, because I love his perspective on it. I love some of the things he tapped into. I also wanted to just kind of share some of my thoughts regarding how and why I feel that this is a phenomenon that we're seeing. That this generation has so much discontent for the older generation. I want to make sure that I'm clear that I'm not blaming them, and I would never blame them, because I don't believe that they are where they are solely on their own. I believe that it has something to do with us. I believe it has something to do with the generation that didn't pass on all of the virtues and moral codes necessary to give them the tools, the insight to manage themselves a little bit better, and to be able to respect and honor their elders in a way that we saw befitting. What standard are we holding them by? And then not only that, were we in a position to be moral gatekeepers, so to speak? Are we in a position to be the moral authority on anything? And now I'm gonna speak for me. As I may have mentioned in some other episodes, I had a pretty tumultuous life as a young man. I did a lot of things that most people would consider, on the other side. I've been through my ups and downs, to say the least. And in that, I have to say that I can't blame myself solely. Now, I will say, some choices I made on my own. But there are some things that affected me or caused me to make those kinds of decisions. So, am I going to unfairly wear the responsibility of all of those things? Or do I have to say that some of my decision making came from a lack of guidance, a lack of love, a lack of attention in a way that I needed? That's just a reality. That's just the reality of it. And we have to be totally honest in this talk, that it's not totally my fault, and it's not totally my parents' fault, but a combination of the two. Had I been given the proper tools to navigate ethically in this civilized society, would I have made better choices? Would I have had different outcomes? I believe so. From everything that I've studied and learned up until this point, and all the conversations that I've had, I can't deduct what those things meant to me and what the void of not having those things left me with. So I look at this generation that's just, by all accounts, wilding out. Some of them are just going off the deep end, right? So when I look at that, I say to myself, well, listen, They're a reflection of the generation prior to them. Right? They're a reflection of the generation prior to them. All of the misrepresentations, all of the bad information, all of the false ideologies that were fed to them, they can't be held responsible for all of that. I don't think that's fair. You know, at least I don't think that's fair. I'm sorry, I've dropped something. I don't think that's fair. I think that, in all honesty, we have to take responsibility as the older generation to say that we give them all the tools necessary for them to succeed. Or do we fail them by not giving them those tools, and then now we want to turn around and criticize them for everything they did? But can we correct that? And that's probably more of where I'm headed in this conversation than anything, is can we correct that? Can we help? Is it too late? Do we give up on them and just say, hey, maybe just skip this generation and go to the next one? I believe there is still a way to help. And I think one of the first things is taking accountability for what we have or have not done. Right? We have to take accountability. Because accountability also gives us power when we take accountability. Because if we created it, then we can uncreate it. If we made the mistake, then we can fix the mistake. If we don't acknowledge that we even made the mistake, then I believe in that sense, we kind of fool ourselves. Right? We kind of fool ourselves into believing that, oh, we can't do nothing, it's just a lost cause. And I'm not willing to write off that generation as a lost cause. I'm just not. I don't believe that that's fair. I believe we have to do whatever's necessary to help them, because they are the future and they are the ones that are going to teach the next generation. They're going to be the example for the next generation. We have to come up with some code, some honor system, some code of ethics and morality that can be standardized between or by us all, that we can all agree on. I just think it's necessary. There's no way to get around it if we honestly, truly want to help and make a difference. And I know that the majority of us do. I know that the majority of us that are going to be watching this probably have children, plan on having children, or are the child of maybe young enough to still be influenced by your parents. You gotta want to change if you see your life not going in the right way, or there's certain decisions that you're making that you're not getting the outcome that you're looking for, because that's really what it boils down to, is are you getting the outcome that you want? Like, in all honesty, do you feel you're getting the outcome that you want? I mean, I know that, like I said, I had a hard life. You know, by the grace of God, I came out of it and I made some good decisions, along with some bad decisions, but I made some good decisions, some good investments, and I'm able to stand on certain knowledge and experience that I've had at this point to teach my children. But have I hurt my children? Just had a conversation with my son the other night. We sat outside and we talked, and talked about, the lack of good decision making. We talked about the need for correction, the need for accountability, the need to take responsibility for your own actions. We talked about that. And I realized that a lot of his inability to make proper decisions at times is based on some of the things that I didn't do when I should have. Is based on me not being emotionally available to him at all times, me neglecting his needs, me being selfish and worried about me and what I needed, and just having to be honest with that and just say there's a consequence to that, and that consequence may have been some stability, some proper decision-making processes that he didn't have. And I got to take responsibility. But in my taking responsibility also gives me power to change that. And I relish in that power because I want the opportunity to make amends for the things that I've realized that I may have done that have damaged him or gave him a disadvantage in regardless of some of his opportunities. I have to take that seriously and make sure that I make the proper adjustments in order to give him the tools to navigate a sometimes unethical world, right? To navigate a sometimes harsh, unforgiving world, unfair world. I got to give him the full advantage. Give him the tools to fight. How can I send him out there? How can I send him out there to fight? How can I send him out there? I'm sorry, y'all. Come here. How can I send him out there to fight without giving him the proper tools? Come on, Lee. How can I send him out there to win a battle unprepared? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And I look at my own life and I say, you know, my parents sent me out there unprepared. Not only unprepared, they disadvantaged me with certain things by not talking to me about certain things, by not showing me certain things, by not teaching me morals and ethics in a way that I could apply it. Because giving somebody certain knowledge without having a practical way to apply it is like unfairly expecting them to read a PhD book and then be able to go out and do PhD science without giving them actual methodology, hands-on experimentation to really ensure that they grasp the concepts. And I think that's what it is. My parents took me to church. Let me say my mother took me to church. My father didn't. My mother took me to church. You know, she believed in a higher power. She believed in God. She was a devout Christian. And she tried to instill it in a way that she felt would be useful to us. But again, I think religion can become polarizing if it doesn't adapt to the times of the people that are listening to it. And this goes to creating that code of honor and ethics and morality that we can pass on to another generation. We have to make it practical. We have to make it usable. Not making it easy. No, that's not correct. I don't say that at all. We don't make it easy because we want them to. We want the pressure, if that makes sense. You know, you want them to have to, you know, fight for their right, fight for their liberty, fight for their existence in a way that makes sense and builds character. You want that, right? You want that. I'm trying to find my dog. My dog is a wanderer, so I just want y'all to know. She's all over the place. Where you at, Ziggy? I'll give y'all a glimpse of her right there. She's a little labradoodle. But, you know, so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in my thoughts. That's where I'm at in my feelings, which I'm going to meditate on. Because I want to understand, how do we help? Because there's a lot of kids out there that are suffering without knowing that they're suffering. They think they popping, but they don't have no idea of the dysfunctionality of their upbringing, of the messages that they've internalized, of the behaviors that they've normalized. They don't have any idea of how dysfunctional that is, and how if they don't correct it, they're gonna unknowingly and probably unintentionally pass it on to their children. Because I know we think, oh, I'm grown now, I figured it out. I'm gonna say I highly doubt you've been able to figure out all of your traumas, all of your negative experiences, how they've influenced you throughout your entire life. I'm almost 100% certain that you haven't figured it out for yourself all alone. Now, if you've gone to therapy, I applaud you, especially to my brothers, because we got the stigmatism that no, we don't do no therapy. So all of my brothers who have gone to therapy, I applaud you, and I pray that you ain't doing it in the dark, like afraid to tell people that you've gone to therapy, like as if that's a bad thing. I would think that if anything, you telling them, yeah, I went to therapy and you should go too. Right? That's what I think. I think you should be telling them, hey, I went to therapy and I think you should too, son. I think you should too, to your baby girl. Let them know that there's nothing wrong with that, but that it's necessary sometimes. But in that, I applaud the brothers who have, and I say, let's continue that same understanding of how important it is to challenge the negative experiences that turn into negative behaviors, that turn into negative mental attitudes. Let's challenge those on a wide scale, especially for the community. Let's change that so that this way we have an opportunity to see a better future. Because we keep dancing and complaining. We keep complaining about how bad things are and how this and that happens, right? We keep complaining about those things, but all right, so we change one thing, but then obviously we realize that that's not really making the change that we're looking for. So what are the changes that need to happen that's not happening? What are the changes that need to happen that's not happening? And I think those are the ones that we need to start looking for. Take the time to have discussions, open discussions about what it's going to require, what it's going to take to make those changes, what it's going to take. But we need the community to tap in. We need comments. We need comments in the comment section letting us know ideas. And let's talk about some of those ideas. Some of them may be valid. Some of them may have some wide use case scenarios, right? Where we could apply it to a group setting. Some of them may be some things that somebody in the comments could read and may change their life and change the child around them life. Let's not ignore how powerful our collective mind can be in making for change. I mean, this whole thing, this whole reason for me being compelled and charged with talking about my own trauma and how I came up in, and I say this with relative to who I am and what I've seen. I came up in a rough environment. I came up in a very dysfunctional environment. And I would not wish that on anyone. And if I could help anyone avoid that, I would do that. Because it was a lonely, scary upbringing that required me to armor myself with dysfunctionality. I had to protect myself by being more dysfunctional than the dysfunctional people around me. So if they hit low, I hit lower. If they got violent, I got more violent. If they yelled and screamed, I yelled and screamed louder. But what did that help? What did that heal? What did that change? What did that create? It created pain for not only me, but what about for my children, my parent? It created pain for them. Without them even knowing that they were the agent for some of that, but they received the brunt of it as well. Nobody suffers alone, really. When you suffer sometimes, the other people around you suffer because they wondering, like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why is he doing that? How can I change that? And that's what I want to do. So again, family, we're going to continue this discussion. I thank you for tapping in. We got more to work on. I'm going to be meditating on this. And we're going to come back to you real soon with another episode of Sins of the Father. Again, I thank you for tapping in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share this with anyone that you think has or is open to adding to the ideation of coming up with a solution. Share this with anyone who you think is sitting around wondering why they're in the situation that they're in and doesn't have a clue that it came from some other things that they may not even recognize, that they have the power to change. Share this with someone whose children are acting in a way that they don't know why their child is not listening to them and why their child is not following directions, or why their child doesn't believe in the things that they believe in. Share this with them. I think we can help each other. And it only takes small little incremental changes and upliftments to change the whole trajectory. We're not separate, we're one. All right, family. Love and healing. Peace, wisdom, guidance, and strength. I'm your host, Ani I Am, and this is Sins of the Father. Peace.